stopped criticizing the center opposition. He's moved to the party governing at that time, the Peronists, Peronist Kirchnerists, and he's blaming them for all the disasters of the COVID lockdowns, both the economy falling and the deaths due to the pandemic. Because yes, there were very shady deals done with the vaccines. So, for example, I think Pfizer wanted to bring some vaccines, and the government sort of stopped them because they had some priorities with other deals like the Sputnik of Russia or that of China. And in some cases, they even prioritized government officials and members of the party over common Argentines in the lists, of who goes first, who gets the vaccine first. So lots of corruption in the handling of the vaccination campaigns, and he's blaming them for the many dead people due to not receiving a vaccine in time because of those shady deals.
Buy my novel, Escape from the Village, from major booksellers online. Go to escapevillage.com. Subscribe to the Substack. Go to fountainheadforum.substack.com. Support the forum. Go to buymeacoffee.com/fountainheadforum. Thank you. Welcome to the Party Pal. This is Fountainhead Forum 373. I'm talking to Facundo Mosovich Garcia. He is in Argentina, and we're going to watch one of Javier Milei's speeches from 4 years ago. I stumbled onto this. Of course, I didn't even know Milei existed 4 years ago, but this is the speech where he announces that he is running for office. And this was from August 7th, 2021. So this should be a memorable speech. It's about a half hour. So we're going to see a little bit of the pre-presidential Milei, and I'm really going to enjoy this. So what's going on right now, Facundo? It looks like we've Espert resigned because of some corruption involved, but other than that, yeah.
And that's not even the latest news. I don't know if you've been following, but just yesterday, Scott Bessent gave another huge sign of support to Argentina by directly intervening in the Argentine currency market. But basically, the U.S. Treasury operated through different banks based in Argentina to buy pesos and inject dollars into the economy, because basically Milei is suffering a huge running against the peso, and they are helping them with all they got. They are throwing all the cannons to support Milei. But yes, regarding Espert, that's a stinky issue, because he's just like Milei. He's been running for a candidate as president even before Milei, because his first presidential run was in 2019, actually. And that's where the corruption scandal that's now exploded comes from, because in his first, let's say, exploration of politics, of course, as an unexperimented player, he's come up with many different people who come close and say, I can finance your campaign a little bit. And of course, you are just in the game, you need the money. Probably you don't ask many questions. Well, it appears one of his funding guys, some of his money came from the narco traffic business, basically dealing with drugs. And this guy basically faces justice in the US. And that's why right now, in purpose, of course, Milei's opposition from the Kirchnerist side is using this corruption scandal, which was back in 2019, today to affect Espert candidacy to the basically to be national congressman for the province from Buenos Aires province, And at the beginning, it seemed like Espert was holding on, saying we are going to fight these guys. They are not going to deter me from running and from defending the ideas of this political party and of this government. But finally, we don't know what happened, but he decided to go away, to basically abandon ship in a very critical moment, because almost half of the paper ballots are already printed, and it's not clear that you can change the candidate this short time away from the election. In fact, the ads coming up in the TV are still with a spurt on, like they don't have time to replace him.
Yeah.
And it's strange because he actually said that he was going to stay on the race. Milei wanted him to stay on the race. And it is my theory that he unilaterally and without Milei's approval sent out that communique saying, I don't want to run anymore. And and once he sends it, Milei has no option but to adjust to the situation. Probably it can be one of the two. Spurt is always like very, he talks with extreme confidence and that, but maybe he was quickly, let's say, intimidated by someone in the political space, either someone with money or someone with connection to busy to shady things like narcotics and the trafficking, and maybe they sort of put some threat in place to Espert or his family, and he decided to basically abandon due to that. Or it could be maybe he doesn't have the stomach for politics and for this kind of thing, and he went away. But what's sure is that it's a very tough moment to leave the race, and Milei's had to basically improvise and replace him with someone.
Yeah, yeah, that is what didn't think of that, but yes, that's true. With it being the 10th of October right now, and the elections are on the 26th of October, I would think you wouldn't be able to make these kind of changes at this point. I know. For example, in America, just about everywhere, it's a minimum of 30 days. I mean, if you're on the ballot 30 days before the election, you will be. I mean, you can't just quit. The ballots are basically written in stone at that point, and there's nothing you can do. I mean, so it will be interesting to see how this works out. I know there's different, but I know you have this weird system where the candidates make their ballots, and it's not like that here. So yeah. I know there's apparently a woman named Karen Reichardt who's jumped into this. What can you tell us about her?
Yeah, well, that's the second one. Let's say in command in that was the one going after Milei. She's come up basically in the news because of some discriminatory comments, we could say. Haven't delved too much into it, but that's one of the candidates that unfortunately has made La Libertad Avanza very famous as a party, which has I don't know, we could say almost half of the candidates probably are some sort of vedettes or females coming from the fame and the talent show space in Argentina. You know, many political candidates in Milei's lists for the Chamber of Deputies and of Senators tend to come from these spaces. It's a strange way of getting outsiders into politics, but she's one of them. Like she's one of these women that comes from maybe the TV, the fashion channels, and basically a vedette, which is not the
Yes.
first one to be included among the Milei's lists. And of course, she's not become the first one now because of Espert going down. They are trying to replace Espert with another guy, which is Santilli. He is not a libertarian. In fact, he's a Peronist. He comes from Juntos por el Cambio, which was the previous coalition that went against Kirchnerism. Now, La Libertad Avanza, Milei's party, is the main force against Kirchnerism. But this guy comes from Juntos por el Cambio. He entered Milei's space.
Yes.
He's the one that's going to be replacing Espert as the first, the leading candidate of the list. But we don't know if the justice system will finally let them do it or not. I suppose that they will, but lots of things have to be remade, and it's not even certain that legally you can change the candidate within this short period. But yeah, Karen Reichardt, I personally don't like to follow that type of scandal that in
Yeah.
that sort of detail. So maybe you even have some more knowledge that I have regarding her. But I know the that many people, many libertarian guys that I speak with, are not very happy about that sort of candidate. But it's what you find here. The thing is, it's also mechanical. You sort of, if you want to support Milei, you need candidates that will vote in favor of his initiatives. That's the basic thing Milei needs in the legislative power. people to vote for him because he's basically getting pounded the last months in the Congress. He needs more votes. And if the vedettes are the way to go, well, maybe that's the best thing he could do because in other districts, when instead of putting vedettes, he's put experienced players but who come from the Peronist space, he's been betrayed. For example, in the Buenos Aires province, lots of deputies, provincial deputies, provincial members of Congress, um, turned against him as soon as they entered office because they came from a parent space, and Milei's sister is the one managing the political construction, the lists in all the places, and she's entered contact with very shady people who have approached her, probably with money, and she's basically surrendered lots of the political construction to them. So what happens is once Milei uh, assumes office in December 10th, 2023, and also the deputy chamber
Yeah.
changes in the Buenos Aires province, for example, those people turn against him and they show their real colors. They came from the parents' side and they start voting against him. And unfortunately, he hasn't been correcting this thing very much. Like Karina kept on building with parents candidates. Lots of these candidates are probably going to do the same if they enter the chamber. And this just speaks of Milei's outsider characteristics, like lack of political experience, the contacts that approach them and give them some money to fund everything that politics requires to be funded, come from parents' places and from, of course, no libertarians in the lists. The few libertarians that were friends of Milei sort of distanced themselves. So
Yeah.
it's all been very turbulent, but this is the situation probably with Karen Reinhardt and that type of thing, which maybe is a better sub-optimum for Milei than having a treacherous parent in the list. He'll have to improve on that.
Yeah, and of course he had Diego Santilla, yes, and of course, I did see that Reichardt was on the cover of your country's version of Playboy in 1992. So
Yeah.
she's a little older now for that, too old for that, but definitely yeah, it's a
Well, and
definitely has some celebrity. So yeah,
Milei has even had a couple of girlfriends coming from who were vedettes as well during his campaigns phase and during his presidential phase. He's broken up with both of them, and I don't know how
yeah,
honest a relationship that was. I think it was mainly as a way to sell his image. Some soft power of, well, he has
yeah,
famous girlfriends.
yeah. What's that word you use? Vedettes or
Yeah, that's the phrase. Like these like beautiful women that are in the fashion space.
yeah? How do you
They
spell
like
that?
to. It's Vedettete.
Oh,
I think it
Bedettees.
comes from French. That the word.
Yeah. Okay.
Um,
Yeah. So that's yeah. It's just I'm just getting used to this slang of your country. So
it's
that's
an artist who dances, who sings,
yeah.
who acts. Lots
Well,
of those have been close to me.
well, the hard, the one thing I realize is when you become famous, other people try to use you to become famous. But if you have a girlfriend who's already famous, she doesn't need you to get fame. It's I think that it's just the same way rich people get with rich people. You know that this rich person isn't just digging for gold if they're rich too. It's kind of that way. But yeah, let's watch this speech though.
Yeah, that's all.
This is going to be a blast. But I did want to cover what's going on here. It's with
Yeah,
these elections just 2 weeks away. It's going to be
it's going to be bloody.
I really hope this ends up going the right way, but you never know what's going to happen. So looks like Milei is here. This is from the channel El Peluca Milei,
Yeah.
which is this is not the official Oficina del Presidente channel, but it is one of those nice channels that's put up various Milei videos.
Mhm.
And here he is. And this looks like it's dated August 7th, since you guys go 7 August 2021. So yeah.
Yeah.
The crowd. Can you tell where this is?
Yeah, this is a historic, like a historic moment that launching of Milei's, let's say, political career formally. If I remember correctly, that's a Milei act in Plaza Holanda, I believe. Which is just before his starting his first candidacy to the Congress, which he will eventually win. He will enter.
Yeah,
this is his first career into politics, like for the
we got
Chamber
people
of
holding
Deputies.
cameras up. Looks like he's hugging Karina. They're both men.
That's Karina. Yeah.
Karina is definitely, and
that's her current vice president.
Which unfortunately they're hardly speaking. And we got some rock music going around, and Milei is going out and playing the rock star as he's always been doing since day one. Really,
yes.
Yeah, he's not wearing. Yeah, he understands that politics basically is show business. I mean, look at him. He's really, I mean, he's going out there like the lead singer of a band. His hair is completely messed up too. I just love it.
There he was saying, down with the political caste.
Down with the political caste, yeah.
And it's always fun to watch these videos because lots of people that were at the stage here in 2021 are no longer in the space. In fact, for example, the guy at his left right now is called Ramiro Marra.
That
was his foremost political man in the city of Buenos Aires, and they fought each other, I think, because Ramiro was not so in favor of some of Karina Milei's political construction, and so Milei sort of cut his head in the movement. And the other guy, which sort of greeted him at the beginning, is a very famous libertarian influencer of Argentina called Emmanuel Danan. That's his artistic name, Emmanuel Danan. That's Dannan. This was
Dannan. Okay, thank you.
He was a very important part of the pre-Milei libertarian social media movement. You know, the influencers, the guys opposing the socialistic pandemic policies here in Argentina. You know, the COVID lockdowns that lasted forever. These guys were very important at that time, and they are a huge part of the convincing the young people to go ahead and vote for a more radical political option in 2023 and 2021.
I get the impression that without all these crazy COVID policies, Milei probably doesn't get into politics at all, or at least he never gets elected president.
That's probably right. Yeah, the libertarian message wouldn't have resonated as much, I believe.
Yes.
Yep. Yeah, huge part.
Milei launches his campaign before a multitude of persons. Yes, okay, let's go. They're saying libertad, right? Yeah.
Yeah, freedom.
Yeah, okay, well. Figueroa's folding up the flag, yeah.
¡Hola a todos! ¡Vamos, carajo! Amantes de la libertad, gracias por acompañarnos en esta gesta, donde hoy comienza la reconstrucción de la Argentina. El año pasado festejaba acá, junto a muchos de ustedes, mi cumpleaños. Y en ese momento me comprometía ante ustedes que me iba a meter en política, que iba a dar la batalla en el barro y que íbamos a empezar a lustrar los zapatos para sacarlos a patadas en el culo.
He's showing a lot of anger and fire in this speech, you know.
That's a very important part of
Yeah,
his
you know.
political identity, and he's perfectly understood by that time that his audience is the kind of guy that exactly as enraged with the political cast as he is. That's a very libertarian aspect of Milei's
Oh, yes.
campaign and political construction. The anger against concentrated power, and he should maintain that. That's the difficult aspect once you start governing. That sort of speech is more difficult to introduce
Yeah.
to your government, because now you are the one in power. But that was a very powerful thing back then.
Yeah.
If he was the only one agitating that kind of extreme emotions, the rest were politically correct. That gave him huge advantage and growth for the following years. But let's continue.
He looks like he just got walked. It looks like he just won a bar fight. I mean, it's just watching Milei is just it's an experience, and he knows he's with a very friendly audience. So I think he's really loosened up. No, he's not wearing glasses, so he's probably doing this totally impromptu. So yeah.
Yeah.
Por eso, hoy, después de tantas traiciones, de infiltrados, de valijas voladoras.
What's he mean by flying suitcases?
Well, but this is one of the things I anticipated previously. As I said, when he gets into politics, he basically becomes separated from many libertarian friends.
Yeah.
One of them was a personal friend of his. One of the most important betrayals for him is one of his personal friends, which is now heavily criticizing him and his government. But basically, the difference is that while Milei thought he could get into politics and sort of institute libertarian reforms from within, top down, his friend has more of a bottom-up revolutionary approach, and he thinks that it's not useful and you cannot achieve anything, only do wrong and evil by getting to power and governing in that way. And they clash due to that. His friend basically considers Milei's political plan and ambition as immoral and anti-libertarian, and they fight and they basically separate from each other. So one of the heavy betrayals, as he interprets it, comes from that friend. But the flying suitcases means actual money. Here we call it valijas. A valija, a suitcase, it refers to when another political party is putting money to another candidate or to a person, whatever, to do something, which we call here operar. It's not exactly operate, but it's actually like do some shady business for a political party or candidate. So by that time, he is referring to another classical liberal at the political space, which basically sold out to the main political party, the main opposition to the Peronist government by that time, which was Juntos por el Cambio, as I said. The guy which was governing the Buenos Aires city government, which was called Horacio Rodríguez Larreta. It's a bold man. He used lots of money to pay basically different people to work for him, to bring down some candidates that were competing against him. They even tried to buy Milei out of his political career. Like they offered him money to step out of the race. He refused to take it. And the flying suitcases basically is an allusion. It's calling out the different classical liberals who were previously friends and got sold out. They were bought by the main institutional players and betrayed him. But instead of helping him in the liberal crusade, they became basically mercenaries of the political power of the city or of the Peronist movement.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that happens. Yeah, so it does
it's only natural. That's the political rule of the game,
it's so easy. Okay, well, here we go.
Operetas de micrófonos con sobres. Gracias a todos los que me están acompañando en esta gesta. Hemos presentado nuestra alianza, La Libertad Avanza, para sacarlos a patadas en el culo. Y lo más interesante, que cuando iniciamos este camino, el debate estaba sesgado. Y a pesar de todo, le hemos empezado a ganar la batalla cultural. Tuvieron que armar listas negras, pero aún así les corrimos el eje del debate. Hoy todas las propuestas necesitan sumar libertad. Pero, ¿por qué el sustituto si tienen el original?
Well, he previously said when he said microphones with envelopes. I'm sure you're not so sure what that means. That's also a reference to political guys paying journalists to speak for them, to shout out other candidates or to reproduce their views. And that's true. Like the journalism here in Argentina has huge conflicts of interest because they have always received money from government or from political parties. They are connected. They are part of the plutocrats of Argentina. This happens in the US and in many other places, but here as well. And he's referring also to that. But that's true. What he's saying in 2021 is that his libertarian proposals forced, and this is especially true in 2023, forced the other political parties and options to adopt some liberty in their political programs because they saw that it was becoming sort of a demand among the public, and that's part of his merit as well. He basically moved the axis a little towards liberty in the political proposals, but it's true, he's saying, why would you buy the copy, buy the original,
Yeah, and the other thing too is I realize, being president's top down, but he's also mobilizing people. He's a top down and a bottom up movement. And especially when he's got 70% approval, among voters under 30, it's amazing what he's doing.
Y en ese sentido, ese debate que se corrió, que se empezó a mover hacia las ideas de la libertad, gracias a cada uno de ustedes que van y además siguen dando la batalla cultural en cada lugar, sin descansar, para que podamos llevar adelante las ideas de la libertad y para que cada vez seamos más los que vamos a enfrentar a la casta oligárquica de la política económica argentina. Obviamente, este no es un camino simple. Y como era de esperar, aparecen agresiones, aparecen descalificaciones, injurias. Y así, por ejemplo, aparece la izquierda, donde nos acusan
What are they saying there?
I'll try to translate it to English, right? It's a sort of leftist friend, you can go to hell, something like that.
Oh, jeez.
A song against leftists. This really is like a Joker scene. Have you seen the movie Joker? The crazy guy,
yes,
inspiring the masses. It's really
he he develops such a synergy with the crowd too. It's, as I said, he plays the crowd like an instrument, and now they're actually making the music, and he's not making the music. This is one of the more interactive speeches I've seen him give, where he's really interacting with the audience.
En ese debate, si se puede llamar de alguna manera, salieron a acusarnos de genocidas. Justamente ellos que donde se aplicó su sistema fue una desgracia siempre. Fue un desastre en lo económico, fue un desastre en lo social, fue un desastre en lo...
Is he near a racetrack or something? Because it sounds like I hear cars racing.
That's probably a drone or something of the sort, I think.
Okay.
Because, no, he was in a square. I mean, if it was a car, you would hear others. So probably a drone, I think.
Okay, it's a drone, yeah. Okay. I wondered what that background noise was, yeah.
Cultural. Y como si todo fuera poco, esos asesinos hijos de puta mataron a 150 millones de seres humanos.
Who's he talking about here? Who killed who or what?
No, he's comparing how he gets named a Nazi or a fascist by the left, which is typical. It happens in the US as well. And he said, no, that the real genocidals are the left, because where their system was applied, socialism, they killed hundreds of thousands of people. And he's referring to the Soviet Union, to Cambodia, and all the places like China, where lots of people died because of communistic ideas and policies.
Yeah, they throw those words around so recklessly. It's so irresponsible.
Por eso, frente a esas injurias, a esas calumnias, a esas mentiras, nosotros, como discípulos del más grande expositor del liberalismo de todos los tiempos de habla hispana, nuestro queridísimo Alberto Venegas Lynch, hijo, le contestamos: el liberalismo es el respeto irrestricto del proyecto de vida del prójimo, basado en el principio de no agresión, en defensa de la vida, la libertad y la propiedad.
He has mentioned Alberto Bonegas Lynch so many times in his speeches. Oh.
Yeah, and you can even hear each time he repeats it, the crowd goes along with him. Like they already know it by heart. I don't know if many of them know what it actually means or have studied it, but they know that they have learned it by heart.
And of course, just to remind everybody, there are actually three of them. The first Alberto Bonegas Lynch is gone, but he brought a lot of the Austrian economists to Argentina. The second Alberto Bonegas Lynch is still alive and older man, but still an economist. And the third Alberto Bonegas Lynch, or they call him Bertie, is of course in the Chamber of Deputies. So yeah, amazing family. Thank you for your help. Thank you for your service to Argentina.
Sin embargo, no solo es la izquierda la que agrede. La falsa oposición también lo hace. La falsa oposición ahora viene a hablarnos de libertad. Nos hablan de libertad cuando fueron parte del trío pandemia. Cuando, digamos, se exhumaron porque les...
The false opposition, what he calls the pandemic trio. Who is the pandemic trio anyway?
I don't know if he intended to say pandemic trio. I think he was trying to say something else, and he sort of mixed the words, because or maybe he was referring to basically the fact that you had the Peronist national government, the Peronist provincial government in Buenos Aires, and, as I say, Larreta, the Juntos por el Cambio governor of the city, working together during the pandemic. That may be what he's referring to, because that's true. Like despite so-called being a so-called opposition to the Kirchnerism, Larreta from the other space basically worked hand by hand with Kicillof, the governor of Buenos Aires, and Alberto Fernandez, the president, to enslave the Argentinian people in the pandemic disaster, the COVID lockdowns forever.
Yeah, it was absolute. That was so. I sometimes say the 2020 was the worst year in the history of humanity. It's the entire world. There was no haven from this. It was literally the entire world just got stupid, and
it shows, to my view, it shows that despite being technologically and in terms of wealth, let's say, at the sort of the highest peak in human history, which is all thanks to the work of the private sector, of innovators, of enterprise, of people working, trading. In the political sphere, which is the sphere under which how many rights do we have over ourselves, how much control over ourselves, and how are those rights respected, I think we have gone back considerably from the Middle Ages to this world, through centralization, through political power being concentrated among fewer and fewer hands, but enslaving more and more people. So that's really a tragedy, and I think one of the libertarian missions has got to be to reverse that process, without reversing of course, the technological progress, which is done in spite of political and state power. But yes, the pandemic was one of the biggest evidences of that.
The plandemic, the fake pandemic, the scamdemic, the panicdemic. Yes, let's go.
Daba 50 puntos de rating y les permitía ser conocidos en todo el país, iniciando una campaña presidencial de manera irresponsable. En ese contexto nos encerraron a todos, nos dejaron sin ingresos, nos quebraron, y encima que estaban nuestros negocios cerrados, venían y rompían veredas que estaban sanas para seguir cobrando impuestos cuando hubiera sido más barato pagar una inyección.
It's talking about breaking sidewalks. I'm not sure what that means.
That's another beef at the city of Buenos Aires governor, because it has the city has the status of a province. That's why I call him governor.
There's the word is
jefe de gobierno. Jefe de gobierno is the correct, like, chief of government. Larreta, the bald man, truly communistic. Like, that is one of the worst people, because different from the Peronists, who are sort of socialistic, but they are inefficient. They don't know how well to do it, and there's so much corruption among Kirchnerists that they don't very often get the chance to advance their interventionist agendas. This guy, Larreta, was the worst, because he was sort of the progressist, globalist, interventionist man, and he's really convinced in that. So if he had been president as he wanted, we would be in a sort of totalitarian state by now, because this guy would like to control everything about the people. And this is a beef to him, because during the pandemic and during his government, it was very common for him to do sort of Keynesian public reconstruction of not buildings, but of streets. So he would break some pavements which were absolutely fine, like no need to repair them, just to go on and show the people how much he worked for them, and incentivize the economy. So truly Keynesian, and Milei always criticized him for it, and many people agree. I agree. I went to study in the city by those years, and that's true. Like, lots of payments being rebuilt for absolutely no reason whatsoever. Lots of money being filtered in the process, of course, corruption, public employment, etc.
Pay people to break the sidewalks, and then you pay people to fix them again. Yeah, what a scam. Oh, geez.
Es más, sucede que ahora nos vienen a decir que los impuestos son altos, cuando ellos no pararon de subir los impuestos, cuando ellos crearon nuevos impuestos, cuando ellos aumentaron la presión fiscal, persiguieron a todos aquellos que además pensaban distinto. Entonces, ¿de qué me vienen a hablar? Si además el eje central de ellos no era que los impuestos eran bajos o altos, sino que lo que importaba era el tamaño del Estado, y que no era un tamaño del Estado grande, sino que el problema era que era ineficiente. Y el pobre Friedrich von Hayek se retorcía en su tumba frente a tanta fatal arrogancia.
He mentions Freddie Hayek, yes.
Pero como si esto fuera poco, empezaron a hablar de propiedad. Es verdaderamente increíble que no se vengan y nos hablen de propiedad. Los mismos que impulsaron la ley de góndola. Es decir, avanzaron sobre los derechos de propiedad de los dueños de supermercados por una mera aritmética electoral, porque son pocos los dueños de supermercados y muchos los que compran ahí. Entonces, en un miserable cálculo económico fueron contra los dueños de los supermercados. Pero no se quedaron ahí.
What does he mean by the gondola law?
That was basically another interventionist measure, forcing supermarkets to show varieties of products that maybe they were not including, or like they were including in widely different proportions, let's say. They sort of said, no, we want to generate competition among the different brands. We want to generate, to have, like, in the same category different offers. And this is basically an intervention on supermarket policies and their rights to offer their clients the products that they want, the ones that are logical by the price, whatever. I mean, supermarkets should be able to offer whatever products they want, but the political power here has the tendency to get into all sort of business, and the supermarket was one of them. So basically, to lower prices or to have a variety of all those products, this law, which was later repealed, basically forced the supermarket owners to include different kinds of products that they weren't going to include if not for that intervention.
Yeah, sounds ridiculous.
También avanzaron sobre los derechos de propiedad con la ley de alquileres. Y cuando impulsaban eso, hubo algunos que tuvimos quizás la locura de contradecirlos y decirle que eso iba a terminar mal. Y hoy que tenemos menos propiedades disponibles, tenemos propiedades de peor calidad, precios más altos, es decir, tenemos la peor combinación de todas, y terminaron cagando como de costumbre, siempre a los más vulnerables, siempre jodiendo a los más pobres. Decían que venían a ayudar a los pobres y los amaron tanto que los multiplicaron ferozmente. Y después nos hablan de las instituciones. Yo recuerdo el 28 de diciembre de 2017, cuando no les gustaba la inflación esperada que tenía el Banco Central y se lo llevaron puesto. Y sucede que ahora parece que reconocen que la independencia del Banco Central lleva a menos inflación. Lo primero que van a tener que hacer es contarle a los miembros de su lista que decían que había que ir a perseguir a empresarios porque estaban subiendo los precios desmedidamente. Una suerte de Guillermo Moreno con buenos modales.
They were talking about the rent control, and he went that away. And of course, there's a lot more apartments. What's he talking about happening in 2017 with Guillermo Moreno?
So basically, here he's responding against the criticism coming not from the parent side, but from the Juntos por el Cambio, which is like the center party against Kirchnerism, yes. And which as they saw Milei rise, they tried to prevent people from voting him. So one of the things they said was how important it was to respect institutions, and that Milei was so radical that he wasn't going to respect them. So Milei is countering that, saying two things, basically. One of them is, well, while Macri was president, you guys interfered with the central bank because the president didn't like the inflation rate and how it was going, and that basically, instead of leaving the central bank alone, you got the executive power into it to affect economic policy. That's not very respectful of institutions. This is a sort of classical liberal argument. Libertarians should be beyond that, but well, anyways, he's responding. And the other thing is Guillermo Moreno he's still alive, but he's no longer in functions. But he worked with Cristina Kirchner's government, and his reputation is basically the price controller. He would go and intimidate supermarkets and all types of people in the private sector to basically lower prices because he didn't like inflation going up. But it was as a result of his policies, of course.
Yes.
Más allá de eso, recibimos de buena manera que por lo menos alguna parte de la casta política reconozca la naturaleza monetaria de la inflación. Pero no le vamos a dejar pasar ese proyectito de independencia del Banco Central, porque nosotros vamos a quemar el Banco Central.
Sorry. Pause that a minute.
What?
Pause that a minute because the subtitles were a disaster. He said we celebrate that you guys are saying inflation is monetary. That's correct. Finally, you admit it, because here in Argentina they were always saying that inflation is multi-causal, like it comes from many different causes. He's saying we celebrate that, but we do not really care about independence of the central bank because we are going to burn down the central bank. That's what he said. The subtitle said another thing. Unfortunately, another broken promise, because that would have really been good for inflation and for the money of the people. But well, he didn't follow through with that.
I think he's doing what he can.
Y esto lo quiero aclarar porque es parte del debate. El capitalismo y el liberalismo no solo son superiores en lo productivo, hay una superioridad moral por abrazar los mejores valores de la sociedad de Occidente, que se transformaron en instituciones que hicieron rico al planeta Tierra. Por lo tanto, la discusión es una discusión moral. Entonces, cuando uno habla de inflación, siempre lo explico con el caso de una economía que hace transacciones en oro. Y cuando aparece un amigo mío, un físico y un químico, me ofrecen transformar el plástico en oro. En ese contexto empezamos a comprar plástico y lo convertimos en oro. Y mientras que ese oro falsificado esté en mi casa, no pasa nada. El problema es cuando lo meto adentro del sistema. Eso constituye una estafa al resto de la población. Los están engañando, los están estafando. Es un robo. ¿Y cómo se percibe eso? En la pérdida del poder adquisitivo del oro, con todos los precios de la economía subiendo en unidades de oro. Es decir, que la inflación no solo que es un robo, es un impuesto no legislado y moralmente está mal, porque es un robo. Por lo tanto, no me vengan a hablar de un banco central, de una baja inflación, porque no hay un robo bueno y un robo malo. El robo es malo, robar está mal. Por lo tanto, eliminemos el Banco Central.
Inflation's gotten him louder than anything. I love it.
Yeah, he's basically, I agree 100% with him here.
Yeah.
He's basically saying, I don't like low inflation or good inflation. Inflation is stealing from the people. Let's eliminate the central bank, which is the cause of inflation, forever, and stop with the stealing. I don't like low inflation, 2% inflation like the mainstream in economics says. That's a disaster. I want zero inflation, and that requires eliminating the central bank.
Yeah. We're halfway through, and he's definitely getting louder and more animated. Yeah, and so's the crowd.
Es más, cuando uno le plantea estas cuestiones, parece que no escuchan, parece que la cuestión moral no les importa. Y como no les importa, vienen y dicen, pero esto lo va a llevar a cabo un comité de expertos independiente. Como si pudieran determinar la cantidad óptima de dinero. Pregunta, ¿acaso a alguien se le preocupó en la cabeza pensar cuánto es la cantidad de tomates óptimos dentro de la economía? ¿Por qué no se dejan de estupideces? Y en el fondo, cuando las personas determinan su demanda de dinero, esa es la demanda de dinero óptimo y no tiene nada que ver con la presencia del Estado. Y lo único que puede hacer el Banco Central es joder con el nivel de precios. Por lo tanto, si quisieran determinar la cantidad óptima de dinero, van a tener que saber las preferencias de todos los agentes, pasadas, presentes, futuras. Van a tener que conocer las preferencias temporales de toda la población. Van a tener que conocer la tecnología de todas las empresas de la economía, las de hoy, de las que vendrán, el progreso tecnológico, las dotaciones iniciales, las tasas de amortización y las expectativas. Eso solamente puede ser por un ser que tenga la característica de ser omnisciente, omnipresente y omnipotente. Y quiero decirle algo, casta política, hija de puta. ¡Ustedes no son Dios! ¡Ustedes no son Dios!
What did he say there? No son Dios?
No, yeah, I noticed the subtitles went loud.
Yeah.
He's basically explaining the impossibility of controlling the prices of the economy and knowing exactly how much you have to inflate the supply of money and all that. He's saying a committee of experts in the managing of monetary offer is useless. He's repeating the known arguments against socialism that we know from Mises Hayek, but he says, political castes, you sons of a bitch, you are not God. You do not have what would be required to control all the economy. You don't have the information. You cannot be present in every market. So that's the thing. Do you hear me correctly? Because I think
Yes.
I'm like, okay. So
yeah, people in government try to play God. That's always been the case.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's a great speech. Yeah. Here we go. About 12 minutes left.
Sin embargo, el oficialismo no se queda atrás. Está en una franca competencia a ver quién dice más pelotudeces. Bueno, ese es un poquito más de lo normal. Pero al margen de eso, más allá de todas las estupideces que dicen, el año pasado nos encerraron diciendo que iban a cuidar la salud y que no les importaba la economía. En esos segundos sí que fueron claros y acertados, porque Argentina cayó el triple que el resto del mundo. Argentina fue de los países que más cayeron del G20. Argentina sufrió una catástrofe económica. Y sin embargo, el Estado presente, el Estado te cuida. El año pasado tuvo 40.000 muertos, cuando si hubiéramos hecho las cosas como un país normal, hubiéramos tenido 10.000 muertos. Es decir, que este gobierno genocida, por no dejar de robar con los testeos, el año pasado mató a 30.000 argentinos.
Okay, he's talking about stealing with the tests or something. I'm not quite sure what he's referring to here.
Yeah, so now he's stopped criticizing the center opposition. He's moved to the party governing at that time, the Peronist Kirchnerists, and he's blaming them for all the disasters of the COVID lockdowns, both
Oh,
the economy falling and the deaths due to the pandemic. Because yes, there were very shady deals done with the vaccines. So, for example, I think Pfizer wanted to bring uh, some vaccines, and the government sort of stopped them because they had some priorities with other deals like the Sputnik of Russia or that of China, and in some cases they even prioritized government officials and members of the party over common Argentines in the lists, of who goes first, who gets the vaccine first. So lots of corruption in the handling of the vaccination campaigns, and he's blaming them for the many dead people due to not receiving a vaccine in time because of those shady deals.
it's hard to say, really. Of course, I never took the damn thing, so I'm glad.
Yeah, good for you.
What'd you say there?
Good for you, because I basically didn't plan to take one as well. I just had to go on my graduate trip, and I
Yeah.
had to, like, they forced me, but otherwise I wouldn't have, because
There
it's
are a lot of people that were in circumstances that weren't good for them. I understand. It's quite unfortunate.
Mhm.
What were they saying there? I thought they were saying Argentinos, but they were saying something
No,
else.
murderers, killers. They're saying it to the government.
Oh, okay.
They're murderers.
Okay, well, yeah.
Y en ese contexto, a aquellos que tuvimos la osadía de criticar, nos acusaron de querer enfermar a la población, nos acusaron de asesinos, ¿sí? Que aquellos que estaban en contra del modelo que impulsaba el gobierno, estábamos a favor de la muerte, mientras que ellos estaban generando un desastre. Y cuando todo esto se estaba aclarando, avisamos que esto se enfrentaba, además de la decisión de los individuos, en un contexto donde hay estado de bienestar que se dedica a la salud, no solo con testeos masivos, sino también se enfrentaba con vacunación masiva opcional. Y en ese contexto, este gobierno de chorros, por no dejar de afanar, hizo que este año la cantidad de muertos ya supere los 60.000 y más de 30.000 son víctimas de no haber recibido las vacunas en tiempo y forma. Por lo tanto, este gobierno genocida sigue matando gente.
He's really mad. Yeah, he's really mad. Just saying they were killing people, but I guess by not getting it out fast enough, or is that correct?
Yeah, like you said that you were going to prioritize health and leave the economy aside because
Yeah.
the most important urgency was health. You took care of the entire health sector. You said that that was the most essential thing, and despite that, you did an absolute disaster of the handling of the vaccine campaign, of the healthcare services, and lots of people died. Much, in fact, it's a big number when you compare with other countries and how they handled it. Even Brazil, which was getting accused of being a Nazi, the president back then, Bolsonaro, because of not restricting so much the government, the commercial, and basically the activities of people in their daily lives, got less deaths in terms of population. And I don't know, even if in absolute numbers, I'm not sure, than Argentina, which locked down for 2 straight years, uh, extremely restrictive, and they weren't even able to prevent deaths. Like in fact, they did, unleashed a mass disaster in terms of managing the public health campaign. So neither the economy nor health. they did neither.
That's the same everywhere.
Y como si todo esto fuera poco, este gobierno se recibió de inmoral. Se recibió de inmoral y demostró que tenemos un verdadero enemigo, que es la casta política, porque ellos tienen los privilegios y a nosotros nos revientan a impuestos. Nos tenían encerrados y nos subieron los impuestos. Hicieron 18 reformas fiscales para cobrar más impuestos y se subieron las dietas. Pero como si todo esto fuera poco, tuvieron el vacunatorio VIP y encima el presidente nos ofende diciendo no hay delito penal en saltearse la cola. Por eso voy a aprovechar este atril para darle una pequeña clase. Usted, cuando va a determinar qué es delito o no, compara costos y beneficios. En términos normales, saltearse la cola no es un delito, no porque esté mal moralmente esa situación, sino que está mal desde los puntos de vista ético y moral, desde las normas y costumbres. Pero cuando en el medio está incluido el valor de la vida, cuando voy a estar matando gente por hacer saltear a otros en la cola, eso también es un asesinato.
Your mother's, or what are they saying now?
A very famous bad word here would be the equivalent to your mother's your mother's how's the word in English?
Your mother's female organs.
Exactly. And that's a way of bastarding someone of
Yeah.
It's a bad word here in Argentina, and they are saying it to the president. Alberto, compadre, la concha de tu madre.
Oh yeah, they get it. It
Your
like,
mother's pussy. That was a word.
well, I remember, when he called that one guy hijo de puta. We showed that clip on one
Son
show.
of it. Yeah. He calls lots of people that way.
Yeah, and that was after the guy died.
Yeah.
Hijo de puta, which means son of whore. Yes.
Yeah. It's. I mean, him dying doesn't change reality. If he was a son of a bitch, he's still a son of a bitch.
Yeah.
En ese sentido, si ahí ya se habían graduado con honores en ser inmorales, se habían cosechado posgrados metiendo controles en el tipo de cambio para aumentar la base imponible del impuesto inflacionario, terminaron doctorándose con las partuzas en la Quinta de Olivos mientras que los tenían a todos encerrados.
Quinta de Olivos? What's that?
So one clarification and one correction. The subtitles said pills, but that's wrong. In fact, what Milei said there was like little parties, and the Quinta de Olivos is the residential place of the president. And what happened was that during the pandemic, when all of us were locked down, the president and his wife celebrated the birthday of the first lady with a party, secret party, inside the residential house at Olivos. Olivos is a place barely outside the city. It's in the province of Buenos Aires, but it's a wealthy district, and it's basically barely in connection, very close to the city. And Alberto and his wife held a party there, which became known closer to the midterm elections at which Milei is candidating by this date, and which he will win. And that was a huge scandal because you were keeping us locked for 2 years. Lots of people going bankrupt, dying, and these guys were just having a blast down there.
Yeah, they never believed in these. They never believed in these restrictions. That's the whole thing, which doesn't shock me.
Por lo tanto, vengo no solo a pedirles que nos acompañen en la revolución de la libertad, les pido que nos acompañen en una revolución moral, en una revolución que termine de sacar los valores del socialismo, que son la envidia, el odio, el resentimiento, el trato desigual frente a la ley, el robo y el asesinato, para ir a una sociedad que viva del fruto de su trabajo y que nos ganemos el pan con el sudor de la frente, sirviendo al prójimo con bienes de mejor calidad a un mejor precio. Por ende, si volvemos a abrazar estos valores, Argentina volverá a experimentar un proceso fenomenal de crecimiento que en 35 años nos volverá a convertir en la primer potencia mundial. Y algunos dicen que esto no se puede. Les cuento que después de la Constitución de 1853, que fue diseñada por Alberdi y Gorostiaga, quienes familiares de ellos están aquí, que familiares de ellos están con nosotros, que un Alberdi está en nuestra lista. Yo les aseguro que si volvemos a abrazar las ideas de la libertad, vamos a volver.
Who was that guy just walked up and hugged him?
I didn't remember this part.
Yeah.
He was mentioning how sort of two of the national heroes that were involved in the developing of the constitution, the classical liberal constitution of Argentina, how some of the descendants of those people are in the party. In fact, I think that one of the guy that I previously talked about, one of the influencers, has a surname. He's not his artistic name, but his real name, Gorostiaga, which is the same surname of a famous lawmaker who crafted the constitution. And the guy that walked in, I suppose he must be some kind of descendant of Alberdi, because he was just mentioning that they had a descendant of Alberdi working with them, and this guy comes in and gives him a kiss. So I suppose that must be him. I don't know. I didn't know that fact.
Yeah, well, it could be. That's true. Yeah, I wonder. Be interesting to see some of our people. See if some of our descendants of our founding fathers were involved with that, but America so tries to.
I believe that.
Yeah,
true descendants of Jefferson and of Madison and all that. By now they should be radical libertarians, not believing in the Constitution.
Yeah, it's Of course, Juan Bautista Alberdi, of course, was the most famous. I don't know who the other one was. It's
the other one is a less known but also important one. He's the one who basically wrote most of the actual Constitution, while Alberdi sort of was the main inspirer. He wrote a lot about what the Constitution should provide to the Republic of Argentina, but the actual crafting of the Constitution as we know it today was in the hands of Gorostiaga and a couple more.
Gorostiaga, Jose Benjamin Gorostiaga, yes.
Correct.
He was a lawyer, yeah. Okay, he doesn't even
and
have...
the other one was Gutierrez. Gorostiaga and Gutierrez.
Juan Maria Gutierrez, yes, okay.
Exactly.
Thank you, yeah. Yeah, that's one. Yeah, still learning my Argentine history.
A ser una potencia mundial, porque en 1860, de ser un país de bárbaros, en 35 años alcanzamos a ser la primer potencia mundial. Sin lugar a dudas, la mierda de la casta políticas, es decir, nuestros verdaderos enemigos, los que siempre se ponen por delante. Quiero que sepan que ahora primero estamos nosotros, los que laburamos, los que nos rompemos el orto trabajando.
We are the dogs. Yeah.
No, that was a mistaken subtitle as well.
Yeah.
He's basically saying, and this is one of the most powerful dichotomies of his political speech, I think. On the one hand, we have the political caste, which lives by exfoliating us, and on the other, the working people, the ones that sweat and work and sustain ourselves those are the ones that we are getting into politics now. We are going to kick them out and stop their plunder. Let's say this is an actually pretty good, let's say, reproduction of the classical liberal class vision of class struggle. The classical liberal vision of the fight and the struggle between classes, and Milei is sort of getting it down to the Argentine people. That's one of the most admirable things about him, I think. He was probably one of the first in libertarian history to be able to extend among that many people this very important dichotomy in the libertarian history of thought, which is, on the one hand, those that produce, that work, that trade, and sustain themselves ethically and with lots of work, and on the other hand, those that are governing, those that get into the state to avoid working, to avoid producing, to avoid trading. Instead, they'll plunder the people. They grab the people who are working and who sweat their heads off to sustain themselves, and they steal from them because that's easier than working. But of course, it isn't ethical.
Yes.
Y cuando llevemos las ideas de la libertad, ¿qué nos va a decir el establishment? ¿Qué nos van a decir los políticos? ¿Qué van a decir los empresarios prebendarios? ¿Qué van a decir los micrófonos ensobrados? Que eso no se puede. Al carajo con el que no se puede. Se pueden ir al carajo con el que no se puede, porque no estamos resignados a que dentro de 50 años esto sea la villa miseria más grande del mundo. Pero sin lugar a dudas, esta no es una tarea para tibios. Esta no es una tarea para cobardes. Esta no es una tarea para los políticamente correctos. Yo no me metí acá para estar guiando corderos. Yo me metí acá para despertar leones. Quiero escucharlos rugir. ¡Viva la libertad, carajo! ¡Viva la libertad, carajo! ¡Viva la libertad, carajo!
Okay. Vicherel's on the left. Who's on the right?
That one's Ramiro Marra. He's candidate to the city of Buenos Aires, foremost candidate. And in fact he entered what we would call the Congress of the city. Then he was going to be the candidate as the governor, let's say, but he got kicked out of the space, and the one that replaced him was basically the spokesperson for Milei, which is Manuela Adorni.
And of course, Vigerel's on the left. Vigerel always looks so classy. She just always looks elegant.
Yeah.
She kind of reminds me of Princess Kate. I mean, in that sense, she always.
That's a sharp contrast there, because Milei has sort of the image of the popular man. He's dressed quite humbly, and he has this libertarian idea. He comes from below. Villarroel, on the other hand, not only is she not a libertarian at all, she's nationalistic and conservative, but also she has the aspiration to become the political caste, and she likes to dress good. She likes to be like, adopt all the models of them. And this is not to criticize her dressing good. We all like to dress good, but the thing is, this is an example of the differences between them, because while Milei chooses a popular thing to wear, Villarreal was always looking after her image and all that. And that's a difference, because while it gives you the idea that Milei comes from below, like all of us, Villarreal sort of has the aspiration to become powerful.
Yeah. Well, her father, she's definitely more nationalistic. Her father, of course, was in the military. So yeah, she's
right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I did one show on her, and I never had that guy back since then. So it's kind of unfortunate the way things are broken up, but these things happen sometime. We might have, I don't know, 200 or 300 people there. It's not that big a crowd, but it's
No, it was actually quite big.
yeah.
I don't remember the exact figure, but it was actually quite big, and it was a moment where you truly gathered. All of us really came to the conclusion that Milei was actually quite more popular than it seemed. He seemed to be quite a fringe movement, but the number of people that he gathered that day sort of woke up many in the political sphere and in the public that maybe Milei was a competitive alternative.
Yeah, you know what I'd like to see is I'd like to be able to look up the history of his Twitter followers. I mean, I remember when he went over 1 million, but I mean, looking back, see how many Twitter followers he had then. That would be very interesting to look up. And I don't know if there's a way to look that up, though. How many Twitter followers you had on a certain day and when.
Well, I wouldn't remember the exact evolution, but what I can say is that once he gets into politics, he's already known. He's already popular.
Oh, yes. Yeah, he's already somewhat known, yes.
Participation in the TV programs. So, but yeah, of course, becoming a political candidate, a political, a member of the Chamber of Deputies and later president gives you more popularity. But he was pretty much known by then.
Yeah, he was already going out on the talk shows and stuff like that. Yeah, that's where it all starts. Partido Libertario, yeah. What's this flag right here? The GL flag.
It's a banner of some libertarian people, and I think it says General Libertador or something of the sort. It's probably a location, the place they're coming from to watch his speech.
Liberatora, yeah, or something like that. Yeah, and I see the "Don't Tread on Me" flag. Also, ellos contra nosotros. That's them versus we, or they versus we.
Versus, yeah, exactly. And they are singing a popular song here, which it would basically be translated to "The explosion is coming against your government. It's going to implode. It's going to explode because we cannot contain our ire, our anger any longer."
Yeah, I see. Do you know who those other guys are on the stage or not?
I don't know if I can identify them.
Looks like this also might have been a somewhat cool day.
It was, yes. It's winter back then. August here is winter. August.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I mean, although your winters don't get that cold, but yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, I mean, the one guy's wearing nothing but a shirt. Yeah, but I see a lot of people in coats. But at least back in this day too, the black leather, the black was just so much part of Milei's look. I mean, he reminded me so much of I don't know if you heard of an American singer named Johnny Cash, but he was just so much like Johnny Cash in that sense.
Yeah.
The other thing too is it looks like it's mostly an under 40 crowd. Am I right about that?
Yeah, definitely. His support came from the young people. The generally from 50 onwards, those were either Kirchnerist Peronists or Juntos por el Cambio, and then they turned to Milei. But by that time, like the original base, it came mainly from young people. Yeah.
Well, Bullrich helped him get a lot of the older voters, from what I hear.
Exactly, but that was once he was contending for the presidency. Like once you required beating the other major force.
Yeah, well, it's a little easier to get into the Congress than it is to get into the presidency, of course, but yes. Got one guy wearing a V for Vendetta mask. They're standing up on these statues. I love it.
Yeah.
They would never do that in America.
It's a libertarian folk.
Yeah. Standing on statues, they're like this. They would never. They'd go. Some security guard go nuts. Like, get off that statue. By the way, what was that statue?
I will have to revise that. I'm not sure I know.
Yeah.
You mean like to what it is, what the statue is about, right?
Yeah. Okay, I see lots of people on stage.
There are some people I knew there. One of them comes to my university.
Yeah, he was definitely, and it seemed like to me he was more of a. Well, that was a great little speech. I'm glad we finally got to watch it. There's just so much to learn from what he's doing. I mean, he's getting out there and really. I mean, that's how you make change, though. He's really getting the crowd excited, getting people enthusiastic.
What I'll always say, like, the part, his two phases before becoming president, which were the pre-political and the political, not the presidential, but the pre-political and the political stage of Milei. Yeah. The first one being when he went out to the TV channels and like tried to insert some libertarian ideas to the public debate, and later when he became a politician, which he was gathering huge support. I think those two stages were net positive impact for libertarian ideas and for Argentina, because it spread the word like no one else did before, and he became one of the biggest popularizers of libertarian ideas ever. So I think that was net positive. Of course, once you get into power, it becomes another thing completely. Like you're no longer focused too much, despite him loving. He loves to spread the word, but when you're president, that's no longer what you do. While you're president, you have other things you have to worry about, which are actually like putting measures in place, and that becomes, of course, for a libertarian much more difficult.
Well, everybody underestimated. I mean, nobody was expecting him to do anything. And sometimes it's easier when you go in and you really don't. Sometimes it's easier to go into a game or go into an election or go into a game when you don't know how you're going to do. Then you win. It's like, oh my goodness, now what do I do? It's and if you don't necessarily expect to win, sometimes you're a little more loose. And he's so loose in those speeches. But also with things like the death threats, people throwing rocks at him. Well, I don't know if he's gotten death threats, but people throwing a rock at him and stuff like this. It's definitely, I think you definitely become a little more reserved. I mean, I remember, at the beginning he was flying on regular airlines and taking all these pictures with people on the planes. And I wish he still was doing that, but I also understand why he's not doing that. And it's quite sad that that he's no longer doing that. It's,
yeah, of course, but you cannot do it. Like, there were many people were warning him, and it was obvious that someday he was going to learn. Like, if you're traveling all places, you're becoming widely known, like a world-renowned figure. Yeah. It's crazy to keep on doing this. You're going to have to stop sometime. And it's one of the if you're a popular, or you like being like a popular leader, and you get in power, you're gonna have to stop doing it. You no longer can. Like, you inevitably have to adopt the rules of the governing class because you become part of it.
Yes, and today being the 10th of October, we are now 1 month removed from the shooting of Charlie Kirk.
Mhm.
I know Milei sent out a tweet about that, about, he really, and a picture of him with Charlie Kirk. I don't know if that had any impact on Argentines down there, but certainly I've seen.
Yeah, yeah.
I showed one video of some Maori people in New Zealand doing a haka in honor of Charlie Kirk. So lots of people outside of America knew who Charlie Kirk was. So it's just
Yeah. No, we got the news, and it certainly had an impact. It was shocking, and I think Milei talked about it as well. It was a disaster. It worries, to see that level of violence always. I don't know if it's. I mean, despite being a high impact thing to happen, because Charlie Kirk is known, and for him to be killed in that like bloody manner, it sort of gives the idea that the U.S. has become extremely violent political. I don't know, like Mexico, Colombia, those are much more violent as countries and as political systems, but nonetheless, we do see present in the U.S. society, and especially among the left, maybe the idea that yeah, if you guys if you are not with us, and if you reproduce these ideas that we believe to be intolerant, fascistic, nazistic, then we have the right to kill you. You have the right to be killed, and that's disgusting. Luckily, here in Argentina, with regards to that, we've moved beyond that. We had lots of that in the 70s, but now we are much more easygoing with it.
the Montaneros and a lot of stuff. Yeah, it was pretty. Sounds like, and that was kind of the way around a lot of South America in the 70s. It just seemed like it was happening that way everywhere. I don't know. I suppose it was just because Castro had shored up everything in Cuba, and then he starts sticking his nose in everybody else's business. It was really, really bad. And I'll say it about America. I said, well, we have less violence because you never, because everybody's got a gun. It's I really believe it more and more that an armed society is a polite society. It's when you have a small minority that has guns, they terrorize the people that don't have guns. But when everybody has them, we're all equal. One guy's 5 foot tall, one guy's 6'6". Guess what? They're the same size when they both have a gun.
Yeah. It's not a serious argument, both from the evidence, from the logics, to say that people with the rights to bear arms are more violent. That's not true at all. It's just a medium. Like if you have lots of terrorist people, they find a way to either acquire guns or kill with other things, and they did here in Argentina. Like making guns illegal doesn't help the problem at all. That's unrelated. It's a thing regarding the psychology of the people, or the ideas, the ideology, the maybe the socioeconomic situation can have an impact, or the presence of gangs and how they incentivize people to go and terrorize. Lots of factors, but the right to own a gun has been proven to have nothing to do with it.
Yeah, and I certainly hope Milei's getting out in South America, although at least based on what I'm hearing, I don't know if he's going to be able to give Johannes Kaiser a boost in Chile, but it would be nice if he could. But he might very well have had an impact on the Bolivian elections and maybe elections elsewhere too. He everybody in South America seems to know who he is now. So
yeah, I don't know about just Johannes Kaiser, because I think the main candidate from the right there is Jose Antonio Cast.
Yes,
and Milei has actually, I think, good relationship with him. He has met with him and Bolsonaro in the past. The new right of Latin America, he'll probably endorse him if he endorses anyone.
So, well,
because Kaiser, I think, still has road to grow, right? Like he's still relatively small figure.
Well, I mean, you've got to go to your neighbor's inauguration, no matter what. I think, but I mean, he'll, just like.
Yeah.
But I do wonder if Jara or Hara gets it, and Chile will even go to the inauguration, because she's an outright communist. But it's like, this is your neighbor. You have to go. It's, you've got one of the longest borders in the world with that country.
Well, for Milei's inaugural address, Lula, the president of Brazil, actually didn't come because they were in tense moments, the relationship with Milei. and he sent a representative. Of course, someone you have to send, but maybe the president doesn't have to go there himself. But I think that Milei will go because he has maintained good relationships with the actual communist president, which is Gabriel Boric, despite
Yeah.
the widely different political views. Because actually, um, Boric's policies and manners, you could say, are quite more moderated and less radical leftist than some things that Lula does or Maduro in Venezuela. Um, Despite being from the Communist Party, Boric is much more center than many other things.
Maybe
Many
just
other
realize things have gotten there too. I know Milei absolutely hates Maduro, so which I fully
Yeah.
understand. It's you know, and so anyway, it's and you know, by the way, we got to mention it too. Maria Corina Machado just got the Nobel Peace Prize, so congratulations to Maria Corina on that. It's that great opposition leader in Venezuela. I know people who know her, so it's hopefully things will figure it out. Maybe this will lead to a new trend. Well, it's been great having you on here, Facundo. Do you have anything else to say before we go?
Thanks for the invite. And
Yeah.
regarding, at least regarding Venezuela, I would say, I believe, unfortunately, it will not be Corina Machado and her opposition, but rather it seems that U.S. intervention, U.S. military intervention, is closer and closer there, and I believe that it could very well get more and more complicated as time goes by. I do not discard at all a U.S. direct military intervention in Venezuela to kick
Yes.
off Maduro. So as I supposed, like it's only military things that will get these people out. I was hoping that it wasn't the U.S., but some either the Venezuelans organized by themselves or a broader coalition that just the U.S. because it will probably lead to further trouble as it has done in Middle East and other places. But nonetheless, I hope Maduro does go away. I don't know what will happen. I'm sorry for the U.S. taxpayers that they have to pay operations and interventions elsewhere that they don't. Many times they don't even know where the country is from. But well, anyways, despite that, I hope the Venezuelans have a better luck in the future and they can get rid of the Chavistic regime. And well, anytime that you want to further discuss Milei's actual
Yeah.
policies in the government, I'll be available.
Yeah, I certainly will. It's I've had a lot of people on. It's been great. There's so many. I mean, people love to talk about Milei Facundo. So, where can we find you out there?
Well, I'm actually not quite active in social media, but you can
Okay.
follow me. We can at least enter into a discussion if you want, or have
I don't know if
my
you're on
contact.
Twitter or anything. If you're not,
So,
that's fine. But I loved having you on here.
yeah,
Just
yeah, I have in Twitter. You can find me at FACU. That's Facu Mosovich. At Facu Mosovich, which is at FACU MOSOVICH. That's my
okay.
Twitter, and I believe that's the most
Okay. Well,
accessible one.
thank you very much. Please like this video, subscribe to the channel, check out my Substack, go buy novel Escape from the Village, and people are giving me money and buy me a coffee. Thank you, Facundo Mosovich Garcia. I'm Chris Baker. We are out. Buy my novel, Escape from the Village, from major booksellers online. Go to escapevillage.com. Subscribe to the Substack. Go to fountainheadforum.substack.com. Support the forum. Go to buymeacoffee.com/fountainheadforum. Thank you.